Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi. Glad you could join us. Let me turn down the lights. I always forget the glare here. It's better with the lights dimmer. All right. I think that's better. So, how are you guys doing? Hope everyone is having a good morning, and glad you could join me for Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi. I have my cappuccino here ready to go. I just made it. Hi, Camille, and hi, Mary. I hope everything's going well, and great to know that you're watching. Uh, as you know, I haven't seen some of you guys in a while who were watching, but I think about you and pray about you, and I know you do the same with me. Colleen, hi. Ave Maria, hi. Good to see you. That was Ava Maria sent me a really funny video. It was really good. It was just a funny thing. I've been showing some of my friends. Really, really funny. Important, I think, especially nowadays. Take a sip here of my cappuccino. And Benjamin, great you're watching. And Amy Jean, great you're watching. Hope everything is, hope everything's going well. And Ben, I didn't forget about that thing that we're talking about. Just to let you know, it's just been so crazy. I've been, it's just been like going from one thing after the other. And I have like calls that I need to make and things I need to do that I certainly will get done, please God, at some point soon. So we're just hang in there with me. Paul, great to see that you're watching, and hope everything is going well with you guys back to school, and that you're hanging in there. It's really a important thing, I think, that we hang in. I think that's really the key theme of nowadays is to hang in there. Hi, Amy. Good to see you watching. My sister is watching. Tell Olive that I said hello. And Francesca is here. Let me see. Speaking of Olive, let me see if I can get Francesca, because she might run away from me if I... Francesca, come here. Come here. Come here. You want to see everyone? Let's see if she runs away. You want to see everyone? No. She doesn't want me to pick her up. All right. Come here. Come here. Come here. Well, Francesca is here. She's in the kitchen. Sometimes she's just napping, but she's leaving the kitchen now. So we'll see. Maybe she'll come back, and maybe she'll let everyone see her. She certainly likes to do that when we pray the rosary. So that's a good thing. So just want to continue to say hello to everyone. Lauren, glad you're watching. Fabrizio, buongiorno. Francesca Ava, she's around. Like I said, I wish I could catch her. Depends on if she wants to be picked up. Sometimes she lets you pick her up. Sometimes she runs away. So if I really wanted her, I think she knows. Like when I really want her for some reason, like I have a fenced-in outdoor patio that the fence is too high for her to climb up, and so when I wanted to come in, she doesn't really want to come in, and she makes me chase her a little, but then she stops and lets me pick her up. But that's how cats are, right? Anne-Marie, sure, invite Olive over for on Thursdays. That'd be great. I wouldn't mind at all. I think she's a cute I think she's a cute cat. So yeah, have her come over. Anyone's always welcome, of course, to come to see me and say hello, and especially my family. Kathy, hi, good to see you. Pia, hi, Pia. Great you're watching. Good to see you. Taking another sip here of my cappuccino. When I have the time, I really can, make the foam really good. I haven't learned how to make the designs yet, like how they Plus, I don't have cocoa, powdered cocoa, or cinnamon. I'm not a cinnamon fan myself. I don't like cinnamon. I like cinnamon chip scones, yeah, like that. I like cinnamon then, but I don't usually. I'm not a cinnamon apple crisp, like pumpkin cinnamon pumpkin. I'm not really a fall like appetite. I don't like things typically in the fall that people eat. I like more tropical fruits and warm weather and tropical stuff is what I like. It's a tough place then to be in New England, right? When it has a big fall and a big winter, but summer is my favorite season. You can go to the beach and it's just great. Summer is the best. Unfortunately, we had such a weird summer this year, so hopefully soon. I think right after the election, all this is going to come to an end, but that's just my opinion. And I think I don't know. I think this whole thing is making us, super, crazy sometimes about, restrictions and things. But this is kind of the world we live in, and we have to accept it, I guess, for now. And then just, like I said, just go out to vote. Hopefully, I just got a ballot it wasn't a ballot in the mail, but I got in the mail, do I want to vote absentee? I have to say, I don't know, because I think Rhode Island, I'm always impressed with Rhode Island voting. We need an ID to go in. Even if I have my collar on, they'll say, "Oh, Father, do you have an ID?" The person knows me, but they always ask for an ID. So I think it's really good. I think the way our state, I don't trust them a lot because we're a one-party state, and I don't think any state should be controlled by one party. I think it's disastrous when that happens. I wish Rhode Island was more of a swing state. Hi, Kim. Great you're watching, and Jessica, and Angelo. How you doing, buddy? Hope everything's well. Can't wait for the big day. I'm excited about it, and like I said, I miss seeing you, and I miss seeing the other families, Ben and his family. And, there's so many parishioners who I can't wait to see again. And, we'll be getting back, to things. We'll be going along pretty well. But as I was saying, I think, I think that, I'm excited about next week too, Angelo. That's great. And Steven, great to see you watching. Christine, hi, and Luann, Silvestri, hi, and Christine Cimalore. I like to pronounce your name the Italian way, Cimalore. Good morning, everyone. So, as I was saying, I don't think Rhode Island, I wish Rhode Island, I should say this, I'll put it this way. I wish Rhode Island wasn't a state that was only one party. Now, would I like it if it was the Republican Party, that was the predominant party in Rhode Island, and we would just get our way and anything we wanted? To be honest, I would like that. I would like stronger pro-life laws. I would like deregulation of businesses, and I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social conservative, so I have to admit, if it was the other way around, it would be pretty sweet from my perspective. But I really don't think that it serves a state well when just one party controls the government for so many years. I think it could be a problem. So I just wish more Rhode Islanders would pause. And from what I understand, the Rhode Island House of Representatives is getting more and more progressive. But really, it doesn't matter if it is, because Rhode Island's so bad, and our politicians are so bad, that I don't know how much difference it's going to make if they're ultra liberal. We're already living in a very, very one-sided situation here in Rhode Island. And we've had, Rhode Island is interesting. For those of you who are watching and not from Rhode Island, we really do kind of have two parties in a way, even though they're all Democrats. we kind of have two parties. We have conservative Democrats, and they call them progressive Democrats. I call them liberal Democrats, but they want to call themselves progressive Democrats. But I call them liberal because I think we all need to be progressive. There's nothing wrong with being progressive. We have to progress and we have to make progress. Progress is great. Look at the progress we've made in our society. God wants us to make progress. So being progressive, I think, is a euphemism. I really don't think they should be called progressive. I think they should be called liberal because that's what they are. Sue, great to see you, my beautiful cousin. I miss all my cousins when I don't see them. Love you. And so I hope everything's going well, Sue. And Pia, what is Pia saying? Small as Rhode Island, there's no matter which party, the primary election is fine. Yeah, the registration and two. Yeah, I know. 2 cities, Cranston and West Warwick. Rhode Island. See, this interesting thing about Rhode Island is that, and I think I mentioned this before, if you look at the state of Rhode Island, and it's like a microcosm of the whole country in a sense, where if you look at the 2016 election and you see the areas, the counties, or the districts that are red or blue, depending upon who people voted for. If you look at Rhode Island, you would think that it would be a Republican state because the whole western and central and southern part of the state is all red on the Rhode Island map. Every district on the Rhode Island map is all red. The only blue is a little sliver of the coastline. And that's where the big cities, liberals live in Newport, Providence, all along the coast, Woonsocket, all along, not that Woonsockett's on the coast, but all along the coast, you see a sliver of red. And probably, too, New Yorkers can vote in Rhode Island because a lot of New Yorkers have houses in Rhode Island. A lot of New Yorkers have houses in Musquamacket. A lot of New Yorkers have Rhode Island houses in Newport, Jamestown, Portsmouth. So a lot of these real beautiful like vacation areas or areas along the sea, New Yorkers have property and pay taxes. So I don't know if they're voting here and not in New York. I don't know. But it seems to me like that could be a case that because we live in a coastal area in Rhode Island, and because these properties are so expensive, I mean, along Musquamacket, I love to walk when I go to the beach. To me, a perfect beach day. Let me describe to you a perfect beach day. To me, a perfect beach day is you get there early, like at 9 o'clock or so, 9:30. You have your cooler with drinks, a panino, sandwich in Italian, we call panino. One sandwich is panino, multiple sandwiches are panini. So you can't say, it's not accurate in Italian to say, oh, I'm eating a panini. No, that means you're eating more than one sandwiches, unless you're like, unless you have multiple sandwiches there in front of you, you're eating a panino. So you want to say, when you're in a restaurant or something and it has on there panini, you might want to say, can I order a panino? Don't call it a panini because panini in Italian is multiple sandwiches. So you have a panino in your cooler, you have refreshments, and you have fruit. So my perfect beach day is to get there early, and then to have my cooler, chair, blanket, and everything, towels, and then to get there early, to get a lot of sun, so a bright sunny day, to get into the water 2 times, to swim in the water 2 times, to take a walk. That's one of the things that I consider a perfect beach day, that you're able to leisurely take a walk. And you had some fruit, you had lunch on the beach, and you're reading a good book. And you took a nap. At some point, you went into a sleep while you're at the beach. So Anyway, to me, that is the ideal beach day. If I could do all of those things in a beach day, I leave the beach saying I had a perfect beach day. Then you're nice and hungry because you were swimming, so you have a nice dinner afterwards, and you get a nice tan, and it's just the best. The beach is the best. So anyway, I like to walk along the beach when I take a walk. Like I said, in a perfect beach day, if I get there early enough and I can do all these things that I have on my little checklist, bring a good book, take 2 swims in the water. Like I said, I go get. Oh, another thing is get something from the concession stand. That's another thing. You got to kind of go up to the concession stand and get like, what I like? We have a great concession stand in Westerly, at Westerly Beach, Westerly Town Beach. The food is tremendous. It's fresh. It tastes really good. It's a really great product that they give there. It's not like concession food where you're like, what is this and what kind of meat is in here, and is it meat, that kind of thing. In Westerly Town Beach, we have an awesome concession stand, and it's a lot of variety. I like to either have the mozzarella sticks, or a wrap, like a chicken wrap or something. So, it's good to eat, to get something from the concession. That's another thing on my checklist for a perfect beach day, that you went up there and you kind of, had a little snack, from the concession stand. So anyway, I walk along the beach from Town Beach to Seaside, it's called, which is a private beach in Westerly. And walking along there are some beautiful houses that are there. I mean, ideal houses. As a priest, I know I'm not supposed to cover it, and I know I'm not supposed to, be into money and all that, because when I'm not, obviously I make a stipend, that just kind of gets me by. Thanks be to God, it gets me by pretty well, in the sense that I'm not starving and I can take vacations, and that's nice that I'm able to do that. But I'm not a millionaire, by any stretch of the imagination. And but if I were, I would love to have one of those houses along the beach there in Mesquamaket. They're just so beautiful. And as I'm walking along, I'm thinking, like, how much are these houses? Like, they must be monumentally expensive. And from what I understand, talking to a real estate agent, is not that I was, again, thinking, I was at dinner with a real estate agent, actually 2 of them. And so I'm not interested in buying it, because I could never afford it in a million years. So anyway, but I just was wondering, like, you ask questions when you're with real estate people, like, hey, how much do you think a house like this is worth? And they were telling me that they just sold a house along Mesquamaket there. And they range from like 1.2 million to like 5, 6, 7 million. So very, very high real estate, high powered, expensive real estate. So I think that it's not a lot of Rhode Islanders that are affording. Some of them, I'm sure, can. I know we have a lot of Rhode Islanders that are pretty wealthy, but I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of Rhode Islanders that own those homes along the shore. There might be some, like right on the beach. I'm talking. There were, people I know that have houses on Atlantic Avenue, it's called, and and they're kind of around that area. But to be on the beach like these houses are, where their backyard is like, a deck, and then a little like brushy area, and then there's a path, and you're right on the sand, and the ocean is right there. Those are monumentally expensive. And I think a lot of them are inhabited by New Yorkers and own them. And my gut feeling too is that they really don't spend a lot of time there. It's more of an investment. I think they probably rent them out for the summer. They probably spend a week there, a week or 2 during the summer. Or maybe some of them even don't do that, because they just want it as an investment where they rent it out. I mean, you could get huge money for those houses for a week. Especially 5 rooms or something. 5 people can sleep there. You all chip in, $800 or so. It's worth it for the week, to be on the beach and to be together in a house. And so the money, the scarol, as we say in Italian, the scarol. You need a lot of scarol, to have one of these houses. But I'm thinking, I bet a lot of New Yorkers live in those houses. So, or own them, and they probably can vote. So I think it's interesting that Rhode Island is, first of all, it's totally influenced by the rest of New England. So Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, which are very, very liberal states, are going to influence Rhode Island, especially in money. That's the really key, is that we have United States senators and United States representatives that I think easily can be beat, but you need the shuttle, you need the money to do it. And unless you have the money, and the problem is that it snows money from Massachusetts, Connecticut. They hold, the Democratic Party will want to hold on to their seat, and Planned Parenthood would want to hold on to their seat. Planned Parenthood is a slush fund for the Democratic Party. It's a slush fund. The government gives Planned Parenthood money. Planned Parenthood takes that money that the government gives them and then gives it to liberal candidates so that they can influence elections. It's a sad thing, but it's the truth. I don't think Republicans or conservatives have a slush fund like that the government actually pays that business or that company, and then that company in turn can influence a lot of these elections with a lot of money. I don't think that's the I don't think we have anything as comparable to that. So that we have so much of a disadvantage. Conservatives, especially in Rhode Island, we have so much of a disadvantage. And so what happens is then you have these interests then that run for office that are conservative Democrats and liberal Democrats. So really that's what we have. And in the House right now and in the Senate, there's a fight between the conservative Democrats and the liberal Democrats. And the Republicans, there's so few of them that I don't know how much of an influence they can have. They're tremendous people, though, the Republicans that are down there. Really, really great guys. And I've gotten to know them, and I'm really, impressed with them. One of them is right from Westerly, Senator Dennis Algier. He's a Republican down there. He's the minority leader, actually. And he's excellent, for us when it comes to abortion, when it comes to pro-life. But he's in such a small minority, that I'm, he has to work with the Democrats, of course, to get things done, and he's able to do that. He's good at doing that. Actually, he's a good man. I like him, and we have a great representative from here too, Sam Azzanaro, who's tremendous. I mean, Sam is, forget about it. He's just 100%, with the true ideals of America and, the flag and our country and the importance of preserving our history. And so is Dennis. Dennis is very much important for us too, defending these principles that I've come to know. So we're fortunate here in Westerly. Also, Brian Kennedy is one of our representatives, and he's very good too. He would support pro-life, and certainly he's considered a traditional or a conservative Democrat. So we're fortunate in Westerly, but that's really the battle. And from what I understand, the progressives now are really, really making a move, and they're really getting more and more votes down there in the House and Senate. But see, what our problem is? Our problem is that the conservatives are great, and the ones I mentioned, like I said, are fighters. They're fist fighters, the ones I mentioned. But there are some conservatives down there who aren't fist fighters, and who, we have supported them so much as we could, who are pro-life, and they consider themselves pro-life. But when the heat is turned up, they falter. And that really is very, very sad that happened. It happened in the Senate last year, and it happened in the House, where the leadership folded on us, and they let the progressives pass a very, very aggressive pro-abortion bill or resolution. But I think it was a bill. And that it's very sad, that that's the case, that our pro-life leadership, not the guys I mentioned, they were firm in their beliefs. But the leadership, though, completely abandoned us and did it in a very sneaky way. And it was just so sad, to see it happen. which is why I really don't want to. I mean, I was down there testifying, and I was down there. I know politics. Before I went into the seminary, after I graduated college, I worked for Joe Paolino, whom I love very much to this day. Buddy Cianci, whom I love. God bless him. God bless his soul. And I worked for both of them, and I was a campaign manager before I became a priest, and very, very active in politics since I was little. Since I was 10 years old, I was active. So I have a sense, a pulse of what's going on. I try and keep up on things too politically, because it's my kind of, it's my forte. It's what I enjoy. If I were a teacher, for example, I'd be a social studies teacher or a history teacher. That's kind of my discipline or my area of interest, or even my degree was in politics at Rhode Island College. So, I'm just up on it. And I know a lot of these guys who were down at the State House because they're still around. When I was there, I was a page while I was in college under Matty Smith, who was the speaker. Matty Smith is still alive. He's one of the finest men, I think, that's ever been a politician in Rhode Island. Matty Smith, he was there, I guess, in the 80s. I don't know when I was there in the 80s in college as his page. And he was from Cranston, Matty Smith. And my guess is he probably was elected to the legislature in the 70s at some point, I bet. And I don't know when he began his tenure as speaker. But Matty was a tremendous speaker, because Matty Smith gave you his word. Matty Smith, you knew where you stood with him. And again, I was a kid at the time, so I really don't know Matty Smith like I think maybe some other people would know him. Like as a politician or as I wasn't really, like I said, an adult, really involved in politics for a long time. I was just a page. And a page, I would show up to work, and I liked being a page because you wear a suit and tie. I love wearing a suit and tie. That's something I loved about LaSalle Academy, is that we wore a tie. I just loved wearing a suit and tie. And it's funny because I became a priest and I can't wear a tie anymore. But I miss wearing a tie. Every once in a while, just a little secret between you and I, when you could go to New York, we can't go anymore right now. But, and who knows, I think Giuliani's son wants to run for mayor. That would be tremendous. You hear about that? That Giuliani's son is thinking about running for mayor? I don't know anything about him, so I can't really attest to his character or anything or his abilities. I just saw it on the news that he might be running. But if he's anything like his father, then he can clean up the city and get it back to where it was when his father was mayor. But once in a while, when I go to New York, just for the fun of it, I might go to a cigar lounge or go to a play or something with a tie and a suit on, just because I love wearing a tie. But it happens very infrequently for me. I just don't usually do it because as a priest, we should wear a collar or a suit jacket, but with the shirt, a button-down shirt without a tie. Just, some priests wear a tie, like who are professors, like priests who are college professors. At times we'll dress up more like a professor than they do a priest. But a parish priest, I just wouldn't wear a tie typically. But one, I have to admit, just a secret between you and I, once in a while I do, just because I love putting on a tie. I love tying it, and I love different colors and the way they look with different suit jackets. And I just love to dress up and wear a tie. So anyway, it was a fun thing for me to do as a page. We made like $5 a session or something. Or $10 or $15 a session, I think. I forget. I'll have to ask my friend who was a page with me. It was very, very little money that we made, and a lot of time commitment. But it was worth it because as a page, you really get to know the people who are the reps, and they like you. The reps. I've always had a very good rapport when I was a page. Like they don't, kind of boss you around or think that you're lower than them because you're a page and they're a state rep. I never got that impression. I always got the impression that they admired us, that they knew we were kids in college, and They were friendly. We'd do anything from getting them a Coke, a cola, or a Pepsi or something, or getting them a bill. And at the time, nothing was computerized. So we used to have to collate all the bills, and all the reps would at their desk would have these stacks, of bills that were in a binder, and we had to put them in the binder and everything. So there was a lot more to it, I think, than there is now. Although maybe nowadays the pages have to do things electronically and learn how to do that. I don't know. But for us, though, there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of organizing that paperwork as pages and making sure they were in the right binders for the right reps. And it was a lot of work. So, but it was something I enjoyed very much. And I got to know, like I said, reps that are still there. But the thing I loved about Matty, and as I look back at the time, I was just afraid of him, he's kind of like a bishop or a cardinal or something to be around Matty Smith when he was speaker. You just kind of like, I was near him because, he would be on the dais and I would be kind of like standing not too far away from him. So I'm sure he recognized me as a page when he came in and out of the chamber and saw me around, but I mean, I don't know if I even had a conversation with him at the time because first of all, I was so afraid of him, and Matty had that presence. He was a small guy. I think he's even a little smaller than me. But Matty Smith had that presence about him that when he walked into the chamber, it was like a cardinal or a bishop walking in, to a room. Like you just stand at attention and I would get frozen, like I would, oh no, there's the speaker, and he had that, like I said, he had that way about him, a real command of the office. Like he was born to be speaker. He's still with us, thanks be to God. And I see him every once in a while. I saw him at Twin Oaks not too long ago. And if you're not from Rhode Island, you don't know what Twin Oaks is. Twin Oaks, you'll see everyone there. It's a great restaurant, American and Italian, and it has both. It has both kind of foods, and they do that well. They do Italian and American well. It's not many restaurants where, like, as an Italian, if I'm in an American restaurant, I'm not going to order Italian food. I'm not going to get pasta. I'm not going to get chicken parmesan or something. If I'm in an American restaurant, I'll get American food. I'll get a hamburger. I'll get ribs. I mean, I like American food. As an American, of course, I like American food, but I'm not, if I'm in an Italian restaurant, you're not going to get French fries. You're not going to get a hamburger in an Italian restaurant. So typically the two are just different. Like you go to an American restaurant for American food and an Italian restaurant for Italian food. But Twin Oaks is one of those restaurants where you can get both. You can get a really great hamburger, a really great lobster roll, and you can get a really good veal parmesan. It's a big portion and it's really good. So anyway, I saw Matty there, and Matty's so happy that I became a priest. That I was his page. And because he's such a devout Catholic, Matty Smith, and I didn't know this about him when I was a kid, but in the 80s, you didn't say, oh, this person was a devout Catholic, because a lot of people were. I mean, it was just a totally different situation than it is now. It's not surprising that the Speaker of the House would be a devout Catholic, or the governor, Garrahy. We had a great governor, Governor Garrahy. He was a devout Catholic. So, it was so common that back then that we had politicians who really took their faith seriously and fought for the moral beliefs of Christianity, Western civilization. I don't even want to say Catholicism, because Matty Smith didn't legislate for people to adore the Blessed Sacrament, or make it illegal not to receive communion. It's not what he was about. But he was influenced by Judeo-Christian Western civilization and the principles of Christianity as being connected to our society. And so he brought that with him as a Catholic. And he was a devout Catholic. He took his faith seriously. So now when I see him, in your old age, I think you become more entrenched in the faith too. So he is, like, I think he's even a more entrenched Catholic. I think he always was, but he's just really into it now, as he always was. And so when I see him, he's just so happy to see me, and that I was his page and I became a priest, and It's just great. It's great when I see him, and he's such an awesome man. He really is. And like I said, he was a politician who, if you elected him because he said that he was going to do A, B, and C, then come heck or high water, Matty Smith would do A, B, and C. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if he was getting political pressure, if it was going to jeopardize his seat, he didn't care. He just cared about, this is what I ran on, this is what I told the people. But that's not the case now. We have leadership in the House and in the Senate who, in Rhode Island, who we helped put into office because we're pro-life and have traditional Christian values, and they completely abandoned us. They let the ship sail without us. As a matter of fact, they did things that were going to cause us to lose. This is the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. They actually did things that were going to make us lose. It's sad. It's sad that we elected them. So I just think the Rhode Island legislature and the Rhode Island House, it's a big mess. It's becoming more and more progressive. And this is why these guys felt like they had to appease these progressives, because they were worried about their own power. We can't be worried about our own power. We can't be worried about our own standing. And what we have to do is be convicted to what we believe. If you're a politician who runs and you're a pro-abortionist, then you're going to promote your pro-abortion politics. If you're not a pro-abortion politician, but you're a pro-life politician and you get elected because pro-lifers elected you, then just be convicted. Don't worry about, even if you lose your seat, your representative seat. Do you think that's more important than answering to God? I mean, the important thing is that we answer to God. We don't have to answer to anyone else, and we don't have to worry about answering to anyone else. Most important thing we have to worry about is answering to God. And that's why we have to be convicted in our faith. And that's why we have to let our words mean something. We can't just go around as politicians because we're Catholic and because we're in a large Catholic district, like maybe Cranston, and which is typically Republican as well, Cranston, and say, oh yeah, I'm pro-life, and don't worry, you elect me, I go to this parish and I'm very active in this parish, and parishioners vote for this person because they see them in the parish, they see them at mass. And then that person goes to the state house and undermines the very people that elected him to get there. I sit back and I'm like, do you believe this? And that's why I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to go down to the state house anymore. I don't want to testify anymore, because these guys are going to stab us in the back as pro-lifers, even if they're pro-life candidates and run for office and win as pro-lifers. There are several that haven't done that. My representative and my senator, Algier, and Azanaro, my friend Greg Cosentino, Doc Corvese. There are a handful of guys down there who, and I apologize for not mentioning everyone. There's a representative from Johnston. His name is Uzo, I think, or Utso or Utsi, or he's from Johnston. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't have your name at my fingertips. So there are a few guys down there who are awesome. They do a tremendous job. They don't kowtow to the opposition because of pressure, and they're tremendous, and they need to be commemorated. They need to be commended for their beliefs and for their commitment and their fortitude, and need to be reelected. So I'm not saying I'm divest from politics. Like, I'm not going to vote anymore. I'm absolutely not. I'm going to vote. I'm going to promote my causes and what I believe is important as a citizen of the United States. Use my First Amendment free speech rights, to promote beliefs that I have that are based on Judeo-Christian, not Catholic. Again, I'm not saying this because I'm a Catholic priest. I think if you're an atheist and you just care about Western civilization, and you know that Christianity influenced Western, because Western civilization is the greatest civilization known to mankind. I mean, look at all the incredible things we achieved in Western civilization. You know, we hospitals and education, and it all comes from the Catholic Church primarily too, interwoven in Western civilization. So we have to fight not for Catholicism or the Pope, you know, and this, although we do, but as Americans, most especially, the way we have to articulate our points is not saying, well, I love the Pope, you know, so because I'm a Catholic and I'm loyal to the Pope, I'm pro-life. No, we're not doing that, because we are loyal to the Pope, and that influences us. Just like an atheist is influenced by whatever they're influenced in, and they're going to promote their cause. But really what it boils down to is Western civilization, Judeo-Christian civilization. And we don't have, in Rhode Island at least, we don't have fighters. We don't have people who are willing to fight for our principles and our beliefs who are down there. They may say they are, some of them, but they go there and then they do the opposite. You know, so that, but I mean, Obama did the same thing. Obama and Biden ran twice against same-sex marriage. Do you know that? I don't know if many people know that, but in 2008 and in 2012, they ran for office on both elections with part of their platform. 2008 and 2012, Obama and Biden won twice by telling the American people that they were against same-sex marriage. Well, whether you're for same-sex marriage and against it, that's not my point. I'm not trying to, you know, argue that point right now, being pro same-sex marriage or against. You all know where I stand on that. But imagine you elect a president 2 times. America elects a president 2 times who runs on the platform saying, I'm against same-sex marriage. The second term, when he wins, when he knows that he's not up for re-election, what does he do? He flip-flops and he's for now same-sex marriage. If he said that the 2 times he was running, I don't know if America would have elected him at the time. I don't know. So, you know, it's unfortunate that these guys, you know, get elected and re-elected by doing the opposite of what they're saying they're going to do. Obama said he was going to bring America together, and all he cared about was his base. Obama, he hated, you know, everybody else except those special groups, you know, that elected him there, and you know, caused a great deal of division as a result. So, you know, we have to look at all these things and reflect upon them. And then, all right, so now you're saying to me, well, Father, you know, so someone is saying, I voted for Obama back in 2008. I was so happy to see our country would elect the first Black president. After only 1 year, I regretted it. Yeah, and his lies, hypocrisy, absolutely. The Democrats have become a way of, you know, liberal against, you know, exactly, family, religion, God. I know, and I, you know, and I can certainly understand that where you're coming from, and I'm so happy that you have kind of observed this now and are not going to be fooled. I mean, I was, when I was a kid, I was a Democrat. I was a staunch Democrat actually when I was a kid, and the same thing happened to me. And I'm embarrassed to admit it. I wish in the 80s I was a Republican, I was a conservative. It was a different time to give, you know, to give me a little slack, cut me a little slack. The differences weren't as stark, you know, when it comes to, but they were when it comes to abortion. And I have to admit, as a young adult, coming from Rhode Island, going to a very liberal high school, LaSalle Academy, with very liberal teachers at LaSalle, going to a liberal college, you know, Rhode Island College, I was very much influenced by my teachers at LaSalle and my teachers at Rhode Island College that were big Democrats, and, you know, and I don't know, I was just thinking, well, the whole state is Democrat and they're making sense when they're saying certain things. And, you know, before I really had the opportunity to get out there in the world and really start to see things and experience things other than my little world of Elmhurst, Rhode Island and Providence. I was a Democrat. And it's sad. I hate to admit it, but it's true. I was in the Young Democrats. And again, to be fair to me, I don't think that there wasn't as much of a contra. I mean, we had guys like Manny Smith who were Democrats in Rhode Island who I admired, so it's not like, and I never really was a big liberal. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I guess I was when it came to certain issues. I guess I was. Because again, I was influenced by college professors, by teachers at LaSalle that were very, very liberal. And so, you want to, admire your teachers. You look up to them. They're your mentors. My father was never a Democrat. He was always a conservative Republican, and he voted, that way all the time. So, I mean, I did have an ultimate role model in my father. If I had just listened to my father and gone his way, I would have been much better off. But again, all my friends were Democrats, and we were all kind of together in that. So it was kind of like a social thing too. Like, oh yeah, your friends are Democrats, you're a Democrat, you believe what they're saying. Again, before I really studied theology, before I got out there in the world, before I really started I was always pro-life, but I was thinking, well, you can be pro-life and be a Democrat, and which I don't think you can really, but for me, at least, I couldn't. But I was trying to justify these things by believing. I wanted to really believe what the Democratic platform was because again, they would use rhetoric like we help the poor, the Republicans are for the rich and for the wealthy people, but the common people, the working people, the Democrats. Now, of course, we know that it's completely switched, but in the 80s, especially, they could get away with that rhetoric. They don't say it as much now. The Democrats don't really say we're for the working class. They do a little, but it used to be a lot more then. Now they're just for like radical, like left people, not the working class, everyday Americans. They don't try to. Obama said that he could win, that Hillary could win without, getting any of the lunch pail box, middle America, working class people. They were just going for their fringe, the extremely wealthy and like the high tech, people who have all this money, and they were going to go for the radical people who are on the far left. And they thought that could be a good enough coalition for them to win. And it probably could have been if it wasn't for a candidate like Trump, who was able to tap into that energy of middle America and the working class people to say, look, the Democratic Party has left you. And, they're not JFK anymore saying, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask rather what you can do for your country. I have a very bad Irish, Massachusetts accent, but I admit that. Bad imitation. But they're saying the opposite. They're not saying, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask rather what you can do for your country. I mean, they're not saying that. It's the complete opposite now. So for me, it was Clinton that really solidified me to be a firm conservative Republican, because I was fooled by Gore and Clinton when they first ran. I was thinking that, it was 1992. And I was thinking, I was in the seminary at the time, and I was in a seminary that was very liberal. And a lot of the guys were all the guys, the teachers, everybody, the priests, everybody were Democrats. Maybe there were one or two of the seminarians that weren't Democrats, but everybody in the seminary all the priests, everybody was a Democrat. So I kind of fit in with them in a sense, because I was coming from that, Democrat kind of feeling like I was a Democrat. But I was more and more starting to question things even before I got into the seminary. I was thinking, gee whiz, abortion is a big deal, and now partial birth abortion. And then you start to realize this is what the procedure is. You start to learn, and you start to see photos and read articles and understand how Roe v. Wade happened. And, so I was thinking, my last Democrat I voted for was 1992. And I was thinking, well, here, maybe Clinton and Gore are a good solution to this conundrum that I find myself in. Not really wanting to leave the Democratic Party, but but feeling more and more left out of it. I felt more and more like I was a Republican. I felt more and more like I fit around being people who were Republican, being people who were conservative. Like that was more and more where my comfort zone was. Like I was feeling these are more people that are in line with my views. But I had a hard time understanding that, especially because I was in Rhode Island and I didn't know any Republicans. But when I left Rhode Island and went to DC for seminary at Catholic U, I'm in a broader now. I'm in the capital of the United States, and my horizons were broadened, of course, more. Even though they were all Democrats that I lived with, but I was thinking Gore and Clinton could be a good solution because they were touting themselves at the time in '92 as they were part of this coalition called Conservative Democrats. And they were like Southern Conservative Democrats. They were in this coalition and they had formed this group of politicians who were Democrats in the South, but who believed in traditional conservative values, but they was Democrat. And both of them, Gore and him and Clinton. So I'm thinking, great, this could be a good solution. In 1993 and 1994, when I saw that they had governed far from the center and totally to the left, completely caring about their radical, at the time, as radical, I guess, as it could be in 92, their base, not caring of appointing radical liberals to the Supreme Court, radicals to the Supreme Court. I was thinking, you know what? I got, fool me once, but now you're not going to fool me twice. And I that's when I really thought that I wanted to be a Republican and conservative completely and vote that way. And then I never voted for a Democrat after that. 96, I voted for Dole. I knew he wasn't going to win. And he was a rhino and, it was a sad election in 96. And then, I voted for Bush, twice. And, he disappointed me in some ways. So, we'll never find the right politician that's going to meet all together, but we have to look at who's better. That's really how we have to make the decision. What else influenced me too? When I was a kid, I was in the Young Democrats, and my friends in the Young Democrats, we knew that the Young Republicans were meeting. So at this particular place in Providence, it was like, I think, a converted school. It was on Smith Street, like kind of I lived in Elmhurst, which was right near LaSalle, kind of on the North Providence border. But this was further down, kind of like more near Smith Hill, this place where they were meeting. So my friend said to me, look, we should have a little like mole or a spy, that goes to the Young Republicans meeting and, see what they're up to and, kind of go in and take a look around and see what they're saying, just to kind of be like a little spy. So I thought, well, I'll do that. I'll go to their meeting and, and just listen to what they have to say. So, I decided to do it. So we knew when it was. All my friends, were Young Democrats were waiting for me to report back to them the next day, whatever, next time we met about my experience. And I have to say, it didn't dawn on me as much then as it does now, but it's something in my psyche that I think about now is I went to the Young Republicans meeting and it was kind of like, here I am sneaking in and kind of like trying to mingle my way around without being conspicuous or being noticed as someone who was a spy, and something, I look back at it now, I had so much in common with those kids who were Young Republicans. They were well-dressed. They were good young men and women. They were, great citizens, great students, just great people, great families, it looked like they came from, they seemed like they were like Catholics that are kids that I would have seen at LaSalle or would have seen at a confirmation class, just more in line with me. I look back at it now, I noticed it and I was like, wow, I'm kind of like, I like these kids. Like I'm kind of more like them, but I was kind of fighting against it and saying, no, I'm with, this is what I believe and they're against this. But I was like, wow, I look back at it now and I think, I can't believe how I had looking back at it, I had more in common. And I loved my friends who were in the Young Democrats. I mean, they were good kids. I'm not saying they weren't good kids, but I just feel like I had more in common with the Young Republicans when I went there. And it was an eye-opening experience to me. And I was like, wow, these kids are like more like me, like I felt so at home, there. And talking to them, I felt like, wow, these kids are like, they have my values. And as a Catholic, and because I was always, I didn't have as a, like some priests say, like they left the Catholic Church and they, and they came back in this dramatic way and it was so awesome, and I love those stories and I love hearing those stories. And that's a great journey for them because a lot of kids leave the faith. I never left the faith. I just was in the I was in the CYO. I was the president of the CYO. I at LaSalle, I used to go to daily mass. The priest used to offer daily mass. I went to daily mass at LaSalle every day. When I went to college, I was a lector and a catechism teacher in my parish, all through mostly through college. So I had really never left the faith like in a dramatic way, like some guys maybe when they get to high school or when they get to college, they have left the faith. I never really did. So I always felt like I didn't have that dramatic shift in my life, but I did have the dramatic shift in politics. That's really where the dramatic shift came. And it started with Reagan in the 80s when I really started to feel, more and more like, the problem why I didn't like Reagan at the time, I love him now, of course, but at the time was because I had all these teachers at LaSalle who were, disparaging him and saying he was a monster and he was so evil. And, and then of course, when I got to college at Rhode Island College, they were saying, that, he was a monster and he was so evil, so if your professors and teachers are telling you that this man is evil and terrible, then, I'm going to believe them necessarily. I didn't have any reason not to because I didn't know. I was a kid, I was just learning these things. But now I look back and I say, wow, I admire a lot of kids who, were able to go against some of these beliefs that their teachers were teaching them that were right. I look back at Reagan's administration now for 8 years, and I would be grateful to God that he was elected. And I just wish that I elected him. And because I could vote the first time that he ran the second time. And I wish I voted for him. I can't take back the vote. Again, I was very influenced by some, just like I said, teachers at LaSalle and Rhode Island College who are all telling me, Republicans are evil and Democrats are, angels, and that really is how I formed my beliefs. But thanks be to God, amazing grace. I was a wretch. He saved a wretch like me. I was once lost and now I'm found, So I thank God for that. I just thank God, that I vote for the pro-life candidates, that I just thank them because I'm Rhode Islanders, especially because we live in such a liberal state, are so persuaded easily by, and I can totally understand. I'm not blaming them, but some of us, I guess, have amazing grace where God kind of tells us, look, you have to go on the right path here. And, you can't vote for people who are going to kill babies, especially as they're partially born. And now, especially, there are two governors, New York and Virginia, who believe that baby should be killed after it's born. The doctor and mother can make a decision whether or not the mother wants to kill the baby or keep it alive minutes after it's born. This is unbelievable. Monsters. How do you vote for anything like this? Or a party that promotes this, or Planned Parenthood that promotes this? You can't vote for a party that has Planned Parenthood in their back pocket. You just can't. And then plus I became more conservative on other fiscally and everything too, on other things as well. So it wasn't just social issues. But anyway, this is my journey. This is my story of, how I came about, to be where I am politically and, and everything. Certainly my faith has influenced me, and meeting priests who have influenced me who were very conservative and were very traditional in their beliefs. They certainly influenced me a lot. And I thank God for them, that they were out there to kind of guide me and along the right path. And I try to do that now with youth. I really want to be an influence on them to say, look, this is the priesthood. This is our religion. We're pro-life. We're, against same-sex marriage. This is what we believe. We believe in the Eucharist. We believe in that it's a real presence. We believe that confession can forgive our sins and wash our soul clean. So this is really, I think, important catechesis. And what a great day to be talking about all this, of the feast of St. Robert Bellarmine. St. Robert Bellarmine, it was if you heard my homily today, was a tremendous saint in the 17th century who defended Catholicism against the Reformation. So what an important saint for us to be calling upon today, where it's not faith alone, sola fide, that saves us, but it's faith in works. This is what all the scriptures tell us. I can point to 10, 15 passages, right off the top of my head that will tell you, that faith without works is dead, and that we need more than faith to be saved, but we need both. We not just works either. We can't just say, well, I'm a good person. I do good things for people, and that's all that matters. We have to have faith and works, both. We have to have Jesus Christ is who saves us, and we can't believe that that we'll just be saved because we're a good philanthropist, or because we helped an old lady across the street, one day, or because we give to the United Way, from our paycheck. The United Way is problematic as it is, but there are, we may give to charities and, and everything, but, does that really mean that we have a faith in Jesus Christ and we choose him over everything else? And that, sometimes it's considered too strict, or we're too, traditional, or, but it's important, because nothing is more important than standing before the judgment seat of Christ. There's nothing more important than that. And no matter what other people think of us or how we live our lives regarding how other people view us is not important. What's really important is how Christ sees us and how God sees us. And we know that he's the most important thing in our life. And as much as we love other things, we may love other things a lot in this life. Our family, our friends, our neighbors, we have to love them with our whole heart and soul. But none of them, including our own children, should ever come before God. And we should never say, oh, if I had to choose between God or my children, I choose my children. I would never choose God or even over my children. My children are everything to me. They're the world to me. And I would never choose God over my children. I never would. That's a problem as Catholics, as Christians. We hopefully will never have to choose between the two, but we have to choose God always first in our lives, even before our children or our family or our friends. Not to say that we should always look for opportunities. Oh, I'm going to choose God. No, but if the opportunity arises, and we hope it never does, but we do, have to choose God, because he's the one who's going to save us. Our children, we love them, but they're not going to decide whether we get into heaven or hell. They're not going to decide that. It will be decided how much we love them and how much we care for them, maybe, sure. If we're a good parent and we love our children, it's going to help us to get into heaven. There's no doubt about it. But they are not going to decide. Our children aren't going to decide whether or not we're going to get in heaven or hell. Only Jesus Christ will. And so that really is the first person that we need to please and be loyal to. And this is why we have to continue with our faith, and especially in these very trying times, the extremely, extremely trying times. But maybe God is doing this to us because he wants to separate the men from the boys, so to speak. And if I could use that expression, it may sound sexist nowadays, the women from the girls. I don't know. I guess I could say that too. But maybe that's why he's doing all of this. Maybe that's why we're in such trying times, because he really wants us to define our loyalties. With whom are you ultimately loyal? Are you ultimately loyal to your work and your finances? Is that what drives you, where you're going to be more loyal to your finances than to me? God is asking us, are we more loyal to our children than we are to God? Are we more loyal to our own lives than we are to God? If we try to save our own lives at more in the threat of being martyred because and not be loyal to God because we're more loyal to our own life and our own body's protection, then that's a problem. We're choosing our life, our own life, with more than God. And that's what makes the difference. That's the difference between a martyr and a non-martyr. You know, the young adult group recently was watching the movie A Man for All Seasons. A great movie. If you haven't seen it, please see it. St. Thomas More, A Man for All Seasons. And the great thing about this movie is, of course, you see Thomas More just unbending when it comes to his loyalty to the Pope and to the Catholic Church. He's not going to let a king, even though he's the chancellor for that king, he's not going to let a king decide whether or not he is going to save his own life in his position. It's God ultimately, it's Jesus Christ ultimately that he needs to answer to. And if Jesus' vicar on earth, the Pope, is being threatened by a king, namely King Henry VIII in this situation, then he's going to side with the vicar of Christ more than a king who's an earthly ruler. And so he ended up being martyred for it. The incredible thing is that Thomas More holds out to the end. He allows his life to be lost in this world so he can gain it in the next. And very interestingly, the people who were trying to preserve their life in this world by going with the king, you find at the end when the announcer tells you about the people in the characters in the movie, what happened to them, almost all of them were executed by the king eventually. So even though they were trying to save their life during the king's leaving the Catholic Church and forming his own denomination in England, meaning Anglicanism or Episcopalianism, they were trying to preserve their life and not be loyal to the Pope. And yet eventually these people ended up being killed, including Anne Boleyn. So isn't it better to be martyred for Christ than they're not martyrs. They died just like Thomas More did in the hands of the king. But they didn't die for Christ. They died because they were loyal to a king who eventually felt that they were disloyal and killed him. So being with Christ is always the best answer. Believe me, you want to be with Jesus Christ. He's the answer. And you want to be on his side more than if your kids are promoting a position that's against the church's teaching, love them, still care for them. When I say choose between God and your children, I don't mean you have to disown your children. No, never disown your children. Love them, care for them, but know that and again articulate that they are not right about this. So if they're ever articulating a viewpoint that's different than Catholicism, especially when it comes to big moral issues, we have to realize the importance of our faith, and we have to always choose our faith more so than anything else. So we're gonna end our time together. Thank you for joining me. It was a pleasure to have you. Sorry I'm not saying hello to some people who joined me recently. Paula, Rose, Maria DiGiacomo, Mary, Beth, Marie. Hello, everyone. Michael, Francese. I want to say hello to everyone who's joined. And unfortunately, like I said, I was going on and on. Like I said, I'm a chiacchierone sometimes, so I wasn't really talking to, or at least acknowledging who's watching. So please know that you're in my prayers and that we should begin with a prayer, and I didn't. So let's end with a prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for these and for all the benefits that we have received through Christ our Lord. Amen. May the souls of the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen. And may the blessings of Almighty God descend upon you and remain with you forever, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, listen, have a blessed day today. And it was great chatting with you. Hopefully, we can inspire each other to continue the pursuit of the importance of practicing our faith in a world that's very treacherous nowadays to do so. So keep up the great work, everyone. And we'll be together again. We'll be doing our 50-day novena prayer at the end of the day, I think around 5:00, I said. So be in tune for that. And we'll see everyone soon. God bless. Have a blessed day. Ciao. Ci vediamo. Buona giornata. God bless everyone on YouTube. Great to talk to you.